Typically on this truck, you'll have 4 people. So now you will also have 4 of these vests on board because of what the chief calls the unknown. 10 years ago, Roderick Williams wouldn't have worried about bulletproof vests for firefighters. But today, as Orlando's fire chief, he feels it's essential.
Since Columbine and all these different events happened, our own gateway shooting we had here in 2009, we realized it's a new norm somewhat. But our goal is to make sure our personnel is equipped to handle those new norms.
Today they loaded more than 150 bulletproof vests onto the fire trucks, one for every person who could end up responding to a violent call. The Pulse terror attack helped prompt the safety push, but even on a smaller scale, their protocol now requires firefighters to wear the vests if they show up to a domestic violence scene, for instance, and police don't have the suspect in custody.
We're wrapping up day 2 of our 16-hour updated training on tactical emergency casualty care in terms of preparedness for active shooter scenes of violence events. Our personnel have been trained previously, but as of late we've increased the level of training to increase the objectives and ensure that we have a consistent approach to trauma management. We're doing active shooter type scenarios that involve law enforcement, working alongside law enforcement and ensuring that we have a organized approach to evacuation and treatment of patients.
So today we're actually doing scenarios related to rescue task force, having police and fire responding to an active shooter situation. What we're trying to do is to get both entities, the police and fire, to work together to understand the concepts behind responding to treat casualties that have been incurred during an active shooter situation, and understand what the police responsibility is, and for the police to understand what the responsibility of the fire department is. The challenges are that we understand our limitations as the police department, that we don't have the ability to necessarily treat patients, and to try to get the fire department to get to those patients quicker is what we found is going to be the best thing to save more lives. Law enforcement, we look at this in kind of 3 different levels. We want to eliminate the threat, and that means isolate it, contain it to where it no longer can hurt anybody. Then saturate the target, which would be putting law enforcement personnel into the structure to ensure that we have located the one, or if there are others, that we've located them and eliminated that threat. And it also look for the casualties. So eliminate, saturate, and then the last function would be to evacuate. And what that would mean is we get the rescue task force together, the police and fire personnel, to go into the areas that we've already secured, where we have patients, and to allow the fire personnel to work on the patients.
Any tactical scenario that we operate, from a fire scene to a medical scene and now to active shooter scenes, we want to have as much pre-training as possible to where we can all be on the same page. Every scenario is different, from every fire we go to every medical emergency, auto accident, and now with active shooter scenarios. So we'll have to be able to adapt, improvise, and overcome, to quote a motto from one of our armed services, on every call that we operate on. And this will be no different. The good news is that with all this new training, and again, working in partnership with the Orlando Police Department, we'll be able to bring all that to bear on whatever scene we operate on. But the challenges are vast and varied, and all we can do is train, hope for the best, and prepare for the worst.
The district vehicles and the division chief vehicles will also have ballistic helmets on there, as well as casualty collection point bags and drag devices should the incident evolve into an active shooter type event. The ballistic protection that we're providing for our personnel gives them the protection they need for whenever they enter a situation where they may be entering into a warm zone. This is an area that's already been cleared by OPD. It's safe for our personnel to enter in it. This provides them an extra level of protection, and will provide any protection should they encounter someone with a handgun, for instance. They have the same level of protection as OPD.
All right, so just like before we went through the tech class, again, you can utilize these vests on any type of scene of violence, active shooter as well, but any scene of violence is a good idea to utilize it. Shootings or stabbings. You'll see in the memo that's out on Power DMS today, it's issued. The districts will probably be dispatched along with you for a confirmed shooting or multiple shootings to help out to make sure what's going on. They're going to have the helmets, and they're going to have the sleds and the forward bag if we need to dispatch that when we set an RTF up, like we practice with OPD. preferably you guys on the scenes of violence and stuff, utilize these vests, wear them, get comfortable with them.
Our personnel are prepared, well equipped, and very receptive to the training that we're providing to them and the resources that we're making available to them in terms of personal protective equipment.
These vests have pockets filled with tools and equipment they need for a trauma patient, giving them hands-free access while having more protection. Since last October, firefighters have gone through 15 weeks worth of training about these vests and the violent calls that may require them.
It is a way of life now. We cannot be ignorant to it. So we make sure we're equipping our personnel to make sure they're ready to handle those situations.
Reporting in Orlando, Dinesh Broom, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Now they got two. There's one east of us and one west of us. The one west of us is in the county. They're letting the county handle that. There were three, they're armed robbery suspects. They're armed, considered armed and dangerous. They just ran the one guy that we just transported. He's got warrants. They chased him over off into Guernsey. They ditched the car. One guy exchanged shots with OPD or OCSO. OCSO shot him twice. That's consistent with what two had. The other one's pinned down. They don't know if he's under the house or in the house.
Do they know a specific house?
Yeah, they think they know the house. It looks like they're calling it the gingerbread house. But they're waiting on SWAT. SWAT to send them in for that.
They want us all the way over here?
Yeah, because they didn't want it off Edgewater. So ideally what'll happen is we got one rescue for the cop, one rescue for the victim, and then between you and the engine for if anybody other than one person gets hit. That's what we have. So stay cool, nothing's moving just yet.
You had multiple gunshots. I just wanted to confirm, you had one gunshot or multiple? Two gunshots by engine 5 star.
OPD is advising that they're trying to bring the patient into your station.
Jack, bring them on, we're ready.